No, pues tú lo ves que no, no quiere.
Mr. Mayor, it's time.
Song the other.
Okay, here we go.
I'd like to call this special meeting to order on March 13th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Hewitt,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales, Councilmember Mitch Lindemann,
Here.
Councilmember Danny Acosta,
Present.
Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Present.
Present.
Jose Carver,
Here.
City Manager Honor People,
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
Thank you. And for the record, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Margaret Morales is excused.
Thank you. Item number 3, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do we have anyone for this meeting?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 4, discussion decision to call for and conduct an executive session under the authority of ARS 38-431.03 subsections A, 3, 4, and 7 to consider its position, instruct its representatives, and obtain legal advice regarding a settlement and release agreement between the city of Douglas and Harold Cooley LLC. May I have a motion to enter executive session, please?
Mayor, I make a motion, we go to executive session.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Baldanegro to go into executive session as prescribed in the agenda item. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanese,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Carver,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Go into executive session at 5:01 PM.
You ready?
Turn on your mics again if you are ready. May I have a motion to adjourn the executive session, please?
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Grijalva, please.
I make a motion to adjourn executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Grijalva, second by Mr. Shelton to adjourn the executive session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindsey?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, motion carries. We stand, we go back to regular session in the special meeting at 5:55. Item number 5, update regarding the settlement and release agreement between the city of Douglas and Harold Cooley LLC. We will be voting on this item at our regular meeting following here shortly. Item number 6, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mrs. Acosta to adjourn our special meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 5:56.
Mr. Mayor, it's time.
I'd like to call this regular meeting to order of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Douglas on March 13th, 2024. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation by a special guest that we have with us this evening, Father Abraham Guerrero from the Santa Monica Church from Tucson. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Señor Jesús, en esta tarde quiero darte gracias por este consejo. Quiero pedirte que envíes el Espíritu Santo a cada uno de los miembros de este concilio, para que todo lo que ellos realicen en este día sea de acuerdo a tu santa voluntad. Guíalos a su corazón para que todo lo que ellos resuelvan en este día sea de acuerdo a tu santa voluntad y por el bien de esta ciudad y de sus vidas. Te lo pedimos a ti que vives y reinas por los siglos de los siglos. Amén.
Amén. Padre, muchas gracias por acompañarnos esta noche. Would you mind remain standing for a moment of silence? Unfortunately, we've had many deaths in our ranks from our employees. Ernie Romero, our Public Works Fleet Supervisor recently lost his mother. And also Officer Vanessa Romero lost her grandmother recently. Eddie Gonzalez, our Public Works Environmental Specialist, also lost his mother recently. Isidro Pelayo, Street Maintenance Technician, recently lost a niece. Gilbert Escalante, our Public Works Street Supervisor, recently lost his grandmother by marriage. Of course, many of you know our own dear Councilmember Jose Grijalva lost his grandmother recently. Would you please join me in a moment of silence on their behalf? Thank you. May God bless them and comfort them. Item number 4, roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Lewis,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Margaret Morales, Councilmember Mitch Lindemann,
Here.
Councilmember Danny Acosta,
Present.
Councilmember Rachel Hoffman,
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Alvarado,
Here.
City Manager Arnold. City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons, City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa. Mr. Mayor, for the record, Mayor Pro Tem Margaret Morales is excused.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, reading of proclamation. Whereas human trafficking is a global plague that impacts millions of people each year, including tens of thousands of Americans. And whereas the United States ranks as one of the worst countries globally for human trafficking. And whereas Arizona ranks in the top 15 states with the highest rates of human trafficking per capita. And whereas human trafficking impacts people across all demographics and ages, including teenagers and children. Whereas the battle against human trafficking includes supporting efforts in schools, churches, nonprofits, law enforcement, and businesses to prevent human trafficking, intervene, disrupt, and dismantle human trafficking syndicates, and provide resources to and support for victims of human trafficking. And whereas the City of Douglas joins schools, churches, nonprofit organizations, law enforcement, federal and state coalitions, and the NotInOurCity.org movement in our commitment to increase public awareness of the human trafficking epidemic that impacts our community, state, nation, and world. Now therefore be resolved that I, Donald C. Hewish, Mayor, and on behalf of the council, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Anti-Human Trafficking Month in Douglas, Arizona, and urge our residents, churches, schools, to work together to eliminate trafficking from our community and support the efforts of frontline organizations and law enforcement in their battle against human trafficking and to take a stand and say, not in our city. Item number 6, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. So Andrade, do we have any?
Yes.
Please. First, we'd like to hear from Diana Lamar, please.
Hello, Mayor, council, staff, members of the public. My name is Diana Lamar. I live at 1303 F Avenue. At the February 9th IDA meeting, very real, inexperienced bond financing was shared by directors. Concerns raised about aquifer depletion and confidential nature of the matter, as well as that they were being pushed to rush through this, that they know we don't know what we're doing. We don't have processes in place. This could make a lot of unhappy people from Wilcox to Douglas and put the IDA in a bad light. All of these statements were true, and yet they approved the Riverview bond 1 week later. You really have to wonder what transpired after Attorney Lodestar was contacted and what transpired between February 9th and February 16th when the bond was approved, as well as the reason for an executive session, not to mention open meeting law violation concerns, and an attorney running the meeting that numerous times cut off the public and continued to redirect the conversation towards the vote. I feel that the IDA unintentionally allowed themselves to be taken advantage of. The IDA was misled about some facts during the February 16th meeting. Had they not been, perhaps they would have come to a different conclusion. But there are numerous reasons for reconsideration of their decision. In spite of good intentions, the wisdom of the IDA directors is in question and the leadership is in question. It is comprised of well-meaning volunteers and promising new directors. I want them to succeed. But the council is aware that the IDA has struggled and been mismanaged for years. They have no staff. The IDA has had opportunities since February 16th to schedule a redo and has not done so. Because of the magnitude of concern regarding Riverview Dairy and their expansion plans, the state of the Wilcox aquifer, not to mention the negative publicity this matter is bringing to the IDA and the city of Douglas, jeopardizing future bond opportunities. I respectfully request that the mayor and the city council schedule a preemptive vote at their next meeting, denying approval of the $15 million bond for Riverview Dairy, which received preliminary approval on February 16th, and that serious consideration be given to the restructuring of the IDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamar. Next, we have Stephen Helfrich, please.
A couple of housekeeping items. This was the New York Times last Sunday.
We need you on the record. I'm sorry.
This was the New York Times last Sunday. It features AP and their new architecture, and I would love it if it was said Douglas. I mean, that would make me very happy.
Thank you.
It's a very nice article. The other housekeeping item, I would like to thank the council and Jose Grijalva for repairing our sidewalks in the downtown and starting to level out all of the trip houses. So thank you, sir. My talk today is just about the vision, and we are at a hinge point, and what I want to do is to, I'm going to close my eyes and I want to visualize what the city looks like in 30 years. You're all free to close your eyes, but I'm going to close my eyes. I see a city where the smelter site is completely gone. and the environment has been made safe. And whitewater draw is flowing in its natural course. I see the Food City building, the largest open air market in the Southwest and including Agua Prieta. I see a road that goes to 80 I see a port at the airport, and I see a road to go to 80 to take the traffic out. I do not see the port out of James Branch Road. I do not see a sewer line, 35,000 lineal feet of sewer to our wastewater treatment plant. I see a vibrant downtown. I see buildings that are active and alive and vibrant, filled with artists and creative people that will bring this town alive. I don't see the wall anymore. I see the wall is gone. I see that Agua Prieta and Douglas are one again, and that people can freely cross back and forth, particularly the students.
Time.
I see many other things, but what I want to be, the big problem is I see that you need to heal yourselves. And that you need to, that you need to heal yourselves, and then a journey of 1,000 miles takes one step. Take the one step now, and stop the dairy grant from the IDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halpert. Next, we have Kathleen Gomez, please.
The opportunity to speak in front of you all. My name is Kathleen Gomez. I live at 2312 Street, East Boston Street in Douglas, Arizona. I'm here to ask you to please really reconsider what the ID did as far as the IDA bond for 59 Riverview. I attended the meeting in Wilcox where the AG came down, and when you would listen or heard the desperation of people who have seen their wells just completely be non-existent, and many people 50 to 20 years. We're not even talking about 100 years out. It would break their heart. People who have invested in this county, whether it's Wilcox or coming down to Douglas, we don't really understand what this bond is going to do. If it's a project that's 85% complete, and this money is used to complete it, and it's in Wilcox, is that a good neighbor? We're getting involved in some serious water issues that have affected Wilcox in a huge way. So is that a good neighbor? No, it's not. We don't know, are they going to come down to Douglas? You know, I've been trying to find out what this bond says. It's impossible to get how much you can make off of it. And even if you made $20, which I'm pretty sure you're not, because at 0.068%, you're not going to get a lot of money from that. Who is administrating this bond process and how much that can cost? I just think this is a very, very bad look for us. I believe the IDA made a decision probably in the best intentions, but I don't think they were told that Riverview went to not only the Board of Supervisors and asked them to resurrect the IDA there, and then was voted down. Also went to Sierra Vista. They asked for $3 million from Sierra Vista. Sierra Vista asked Riverview to provide some kind of guarantee that they would not deplete the aquifer. But guess what? They never went back to Sierra Vista. They came to Douglas. There's just a lot. I don't think we want to shape this kind of professional reputation on a bond. I mean, I think the last time. So where's the cost? Do you really know what it is? And if you look at Riverview, look at the articles that say there's a Herald this time, like country, possibly the does not use the water management. They now are using 900 gallons of water a year. There are 13,000 cattle. And I get kind of very emotional because after seeing these people really desperation. You have to work on just water, who else will drive, it creates your heart. I just don't want to see us associated with something that has so much change. So that is one of the issues.
Time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Item number 7, discussing decision on approval of consent agenda items. Item A, expenditures for the month of February 2024. Totaling $4,147,594.93. And B, meeting minutes for February 14 and 28, 2024. May I have a motion regarding the consent agenda item? Yes, please, Mr. Lindeman.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A and B.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Lindeman, second by Mr. Baldanegro. To approve the consent agenda items as presented. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta. Yes. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 8, discussion decision on approvals. Item A, first reading of ordinance number 24-1176. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona. Amending Title III, Revenue and Finance, Chapter 3.11, Public Records, Documents, and Media Fees, Section 3.11.010, Public Records, Documents, and Media of the City of Douglas Municipal Code to add a new fee for body camera video review and redaction, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Lieutenant Rose, please.
Good evening, Mayor. and Council. State Bill 1148 was signed by Governor Hobbs on June 20th, 2023, and became effective on October 30th, 2023. The provisions of State Bill 1148, as codified in Arizona Revised Statute 39-129, allows for a county, city, a town, or any political subdivision of the state to establish a one-time fee for copy not to exceed $46 per video hour review, to be charged to a person submitting a public records request to a local law enforcement agency for a copy of the video recording. In determining the amount for the one-time fee per copy, the county, city, town, or political subdivision will take into account the regional cost of reviewing and making a copy of, and as necessary, redacting the video recording. Arizona Revised Statute 39-127 provides an exemption to the one-time fee per copy for a victim of the criminal offense related to the recording. The victim's attorneys on behalf of the victim or an immediate family member of the victim if the victim is killed or incapacitated.
Thank you, Lieutenant. May I have a motion regarding the resolution, please?
Mayor.
The ordinance, my apologies. Yes, please, Mr. Lindeman.
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-11 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lindeman, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1176 on first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion, please?
One question.
Yes, please, Mr. Lindeman.
I think the natural one that can return. Has there any been requests of this type before?
Yeah. We had a question.
What was the previous charge?
But it wasn't charged.
Oh, it
It
wasn't.
was staff.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is new. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann. Councilmember Acosta. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro. Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending Title III, Revenue and Finance, Chapter 3.11, Public Records, Documents, and Media Fees, Section 3.11.010, Public Records, Documents, and Media of the City of Douglas Municipal Code to add a new fee for body camera video review and redaction, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
I have a motion regarding approval of first reading order from 24-176.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
I move that Mayor and Council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1176 and place it on a second reading by number title.
Motion by Mr. Raymond, second by Mr. DeCosta. To approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1176 and place it on second reading by number title. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending Title III, Revenue and Finance, Chapter 3.11, Public Records, Documents, and Media Fees, Section 3.11.010, Public Records, Documents, and Media of the City of Douglas Municipal Code to add a new fee for body camera video review and redaction, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. We're gonna do something a little bit, here, because we have a group of, ordinances that deal with the new and innovative zoning changes. And so what I'd like to do is we're gonna call all the agenda items B through M. And we'll have Mr. Osborne walk us through an overview of what these overlay districts mean. And then we'll take each individual area, ordinance by ordinance. Mr. Osborne, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Will Osborne, your city planner. And we do have a presentation in the can for you tonight, but what I would like to do is, following the mayor's direction, is to just provide to you a brief description of the intent of the innovative community overlay zoning districts, of which there are three types. There's innovative community residential, innovative community commercial, and innovative community mixed use. Basically, the areas of the city that have been identified for these proposed zoning map amendments are areas where the properties are currently non-conforming with their underlying zoning, or we are getting proposals consistently that would run counter to what the current suburban style zoning allows. So for the innovative community residential areas, those are generally zoned mobile home residents. Those areas only allow for mobile home residences to be placed upon them, whether it's replacement or new. And so, given that we have so many single-family residential site construction requests and tiny home requests in these areas, we're looking to provide those opportunities in the areas that are zoned currently mobile home residents. For the areas that are proposed for innovative community commercial, we're looking at areas that have commercial use, but the zoning regulations, again, are suburban, written in 1966 or adopted in 1966. They require great setbacks, distance requirements from property lines that most of the properties that are currently designated like that can't meet. And so the innovative community commercial overlays would allow for the existing uses to expand, recognizing the limitations on the parking that might be available off-site. There'd be some flexibility there, but greatly the setbacks would be reduced. For those properties that are in the innovative community mixed use designated overlay proposals, those properties have existing uses that are contrary to what the zoning allows. So we have limited commercial and general commercial zones in the south end of downtown, but also in other places of the city, particularly around the Food City, where you have residential uses, and they've been residences since the 1950s, but those properties are zoned commercial and they are considered they don't meet with what the zoning allows. We can't allow them to expand as they are. We can only really allow them to redevelop as commercial. But again, those setback requirements would make it almost impossible to do unless those properties combined. So the innovative community mixed use allows for the existing uses, whether they're residential or commercial, to expand, and for the inclusion of the other use that would be suggested with mixed. So if somebody wanted to have a commercial use on a property that is zoned currently limited commercial or general commercial, they could. But they could also improve their home that they already have and have had on that property since the beginning of the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you if you have any questions about specific areas or about the regulations of the IC overlays. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is if you have any general questions that you'd like to ask regarding how this works and what it means. Then if you have specific ones for each one, you can ask them now, but if you want to hold it until we go each individual one also. But I'd like to have you walk us through how we got to this point as far as the planning and zoning commission and those type of things. Happily. Staff prepared for the February 13th public hearing of the Planning and Zoning Commission all of these amendments with identification of those areas and expressed the intent just as we just did, but went area by area. We went through each of those zoning map amendments, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously on all 12, 6-0. And so the questions had been asked, questions about what the setback requirements would be, questions of whether or not property owners would be required to adopt the overlays, and the answer to that is no. If property owners don't wish to do anything at all with their properties, they don't have to. They don't have to adopt an overlay. But the likelihood, if they want to get a permit, a building permit of any kind with us, they're probably going to have to exercise that overlay, and it'll be already ready for them, rather than for us to go to a variance request with the Board of Adjustment or with a conditional use permit with the Planning and Zoning Commission and going through all that process for each individual proposal. We won't have to do that. So that's ultimately the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations were unanimous for all of them, for those to be approved by mayor and council. Speak to how the public was notified of the every property owner who held property, for every property that was identified in the overlays, was sent first-class mail as required by our code and by statute. And so we had, I think, close to 1,200 pieces of mail that were sent out on 2 occasions, in January and in early February, for those folks to be notified. We had a large number of phone calls, which I answered and provided some information to those folks, and they were very happy to hear and understand exactly what those letters meant. But we had 16 attendees at the public hearing of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and all the folks who testified were testifying with gratitude that they were going to be able to do something with their properties that they either thought they could do in the beginning and found out that they could not, or that they didn't realize that they would have these opportunities, and they were very happy to find out that they would. Yes, please.
I'm grateful to have something such as this that doesn't preclude anything that wants to be done. We don't know what it's going to be great. So I don't want to be limited. And I don't want to be almost be limited on what they're proposing for their own life. So I think it's feel good with them, and I appreciate the company that we have woman made that expectation to help. A lot of people that otherwise would be facing the no. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please, Ms. Costa.
Yes, I mean, I also tried to work preparing all this, and we've seen several overlays and holidays. I appreciate all the work that have been put into it. It seems like a lot of the folks that we now, so we will maintain the picture and you'll have to continue to do these overlays if people follow the rules. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta. Anyone else? Okay, we'll call item 8B, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1177. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 39 parcels of land located within the city, within the Douglas original town site, North Douglas, Lone Star, and McGuire additions from general commercial GC to innovative community commercial IC-C and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, do you have anything specific on this one?
This is the North A Avenue. Basically, most all the parcels identified are IC commercial, which again, recognizing the general commercial zoning does not really allow for redevelopment or infill of existing parcels, and we would require variances for all of them. So this would relieve them of that burden. And for the extended stay Douglas property, it would allow them to have mixed use, recognizing that there's already a quasi residential use of the property, and they could propose that, but they could also propose rather commercial use of the property too.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Acosta.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1177 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1177 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? I have one, Mr. Osborne. Some of like the gap in the IC-MU, that little gap up there on, what is it, 18th Street? That one property, is there a reason why that gap exists and you didn't include all of it down?
I believe that's a multi-family residential property that's part of, I want to say it's the Coronado Arms. It's located across the street, catty corner from Mana, and
Already established.
so it's already established as a multi-family development and is zoned as such.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor, just to clarify, that's
Yes,
Coronado
please.
Courts. Coronado Courts is what that section is.
Part of the courts and then part of that one little hotel that was turned into apartments. I believe, my memory serves me right. Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Linder?
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro?
Yes.
Councilmember Gather?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 30 parcels of land within the Douglas original township and Lone Star and require additions from general commercial GC to innovative community commercial IC-C and innovative community use IC-MU. In the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mrs. Acosta.
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1177 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1177 and place it on second reading by number and title only. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Linder?
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro?
Yes.
Councilmember Gather?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 39 parcels of land located within the Douglas original town site, North Douglas, Lone Star, and require additions from general commercial GC to innovative community commercial IC-C and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8C, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1178. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 36 parcels of land located within the east side foothills, Frontier Village, and McCullers additions from general commercial GC, limited commercial LC, and multifamily residential MFR to innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, anything specific on this one?
The main thing to note for this one is that this is an area where there's some mismatching, but there's also opportunity for infill development. One of the mismatches that's most notable is the Alco Theater, which is zoned multi-family residential. And this would allow for it to be restored as a theater and or to have some residential as a component of that.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Acosta?
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1178 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1178 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or comments in this specific area? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanera.
Yes.
Councilmember Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 36 parcels of land located within the east side, foothills, Frontier Village, and McClure's addition from general commercial, limited commercial, and multi-family residential to integrated community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several later components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion approving the first reading of ordinance number 24-1178?
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Acosta?
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1178 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1178 and to place it on second reading by number and title only. Any questions or comments? Not sure if Mr. Baldanegro would like to share any of his experiences in the 70s at the Alco Theater.
It wasn't there. No, I take it back. It was built in 1975.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Come on.
But it wasn't it was the alcohol.
Yeah.
It wasn't the box.
Thank you. Any other questions or distractions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanera.
Yes.
Councilmember Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
Ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 36 parcels of land located within the east side foothills, Frontier Village, and McClure's addition from general commercial, limited commercial, and multi-family residential to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amended the official zoning district map, establishing several data components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item 8D, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1179, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 7 parcels of land located within the Country Club addition from general commercial GC to innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Anything specific on this one, Mr. Osborne, please?
This property is zoned general commercial. Most of the properties are vacant or have some form of storage use on them. They're located directly across from an apartment building or apartment complex. And so this proposal would allow for a mix of uses that is close to where teachers might live, to the high school. And so that's why this proposal came forward this way.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1179 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Lindeman to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1179 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning several parcels of land located within the country club addition from general commercial to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several area components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
I
Mr. Shelton.
move the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 241179 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Lindemann to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1179 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning several parcels of land located within the country club addition from general commercial to innovative community use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several area components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8E, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1180. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 7 parcels of land located within the Applewhite addition from limited commercial LC to innovative community commercial IC-C in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a correction on that one. If that has been misprinted in your packet, the attachment for the ordinance should reflect for ordinance 24-1180 that the Applewhite addition is for block 1, lot 8, which is a triangular property located just off of 15th Street. This single parcel is zoned limited commercial. The setback requirements would pretty much not allow anything to be developed on it. And so the innovative community commercial overlay would be applied to allow for relaxed setbacks. But it's just a single parcel proposal, parcel number 410200008.
Thank you. So in regards to it's rather than 7 parcels, it's a single parcel?
That's correct.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 241180 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Valdenegro to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1180 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Yes, please,
Yeah.
Mr. Lindemann.
Maybe wrong, but I remember that this parcel was donated to the city a few years ago. Am I correct?
Anybody have any information on that?
I believe so.
The parcel is city owned.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that it was donated because nothing could be done. Maybe something can be done.
Every parcel deserves a chance.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Mr.
but-
Shelton, please.
Should we make some type of amendment in our motion to include that? You said we missed it.
I
I believe that the information that's been provided to you as part of the ordinance, both the map and the listing of parcels, will show that that only has 1 parcel on it. That's right.
Mr. Fitzgibbon, is that something that can be corrected at the second reading?
I wonder if it was different.
That can be corrected at the second reading.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for pointing it out.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
Ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 7 parcels of land located within the Applewhite Addition from limited commercial to innovative community commercial in the City of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Valdenegro.
shouldn't we just say one parcel? There's only one parcel?
No, the typo will be corrected in on the second reading.
Okay.
Okay, okay, Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we move the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 241180 and place it on second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Valdenegro to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1180 and place it on second reading by number and title only. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Felton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
In ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 7 parcels of land located within the Applewhite Addition from limited commercial to innovative community commercial in the City of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8F, discussing decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1181, excuse me. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 3 parcels of land located within the East Side Addition from limited commercial LC and multifamily residential MFR to innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is one of the proposals where we have a mismatch of use and zoning. And so multifamily residential, we have it on a limited commercial parcel, and we have some commercial use on a multifamily parcel. So this will recognize both as being quite okay.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance? Yes, please, Mr. Lindemann.
Reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lindemann, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1181 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
In ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 3 parcels of land located within the East Side Addition from limited commercial and multifamily residential to innovative community mixed use in the City of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Here.
Yes, please, Mr. Lindemann.
24-1181. Placed on a second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lindemann, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1181 and to place it on second reading by number and title only. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
In ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 3 parcels of land located within the East Side Addition from limited commercial and multifamily residential to innovative community mixed use in the City of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bit of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8G, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1182. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 12 parcels of land located within the Musgrave Addition from limited commercial LC to innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This proposal takes properties that are in residential use and always have been, but are zoned commercial and allows them to be either with reduced setback requirements.
Thank you. I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance.
Mayor,
Mrs. Acosta, please.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1182 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1182 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 12 parcels of land within the Musgrave addition from limited commercial to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. We have a motion regarding the first reading.
Mayor,
Yes, Mrs. Acosta, please.
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1182 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1182 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 12 parcels of land located within the Musgrave addition from limited commercial to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several other components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8H, discussion decision of ordinance number 24-1183. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 130 parcels of land located within the Douglas original town site from general commercial GC and limited commercial LC to innovative commercial mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This proposal takes both parts of G Avenue and F Avenue that are zone commercial, have residential use primarily, but there's some commercial use within, allows for a more intensive redevelopment or infill development, while also recognizing there's a possibility for improving what's already there. So this is basically taking the south end of downtown and making it more effectively mixed use.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Baldanegro.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1183 on its first reading by number and title.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Baldanegro, second by Mr. Lindemann to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1183 by number and title only. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question on this.
Yes, please, Mr. Baldanegro.
Since it's a mix of residential and commercial use, Mr. Osborne, how tall can the wall be on not facing the commercial side, but the property side, the residential side?
For the
Residential,
for fencing, typically we're
Yes,
looking at 6 foot, we're looking at 6 foot height as a maximum. Whereas for an underlying commercial zone, where it's just the commercial zone, that's a minimum. For any of the mixed uses, we'd probably be looking at something of 6 foot as being a maximum. Of course, depending on the existing use.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please, Mr. Lindemann.
we're dealing with downtown Gianna. My understanding historically, there were retail on the bottom floor and then apartments above. And so this, I think, will allow that to redevelop itself in the future. So I think it's good. And thank you again very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yeah.
Councilmember Acosta. Yes. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 130 parcels of land located within the Douglas original town site from general commercial and limited commercial to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Baldonado.
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1183 and place it on its second reading by number and title.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Baldonado, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1183 to place it on second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yeah.
Councilmember Acosta. Yes. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 130 parcels of land within the Douglas original town site from general commercial and limited commercial to innovative community mixed use in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8I, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1184, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 101 parcels of land located within the railroad addition from single-family residential 6,000 SFR6 mobile home residence MHR and limited commercial LC to innovative community residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an area of our city that has a bit of nonconformity. Properties that have been split to smaller than 6,000 square feet despite the zoning. Properties that are zoned mobile home residents that have not been developed for mobile home residents. And there's also a significant amount of the area that's designated in the FEMA floodplain. This particular overlay would allow for the opportunity of smaller scale development and for splitting a property to less than 6,000 square feet, which might actually help these properties to be improved, whereas currently they are challenged to be done to be improved as they are.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton, please.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1184 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Baldonado to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1184 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 101 parcels of land located within the railroad addition from single-family residential 6,000 SFR6 mobile home residence MHR and limited commercial LC to innovative community residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
I move the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1184 and place it on second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Baldonegro to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1184 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta. Yes. Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valverde.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 101 parcels of land located within the Belleville addition from single family residential 6,000 SFR 6 mobile home residence MHR and limited commercial LLC to innovative community residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several related components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8J, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1185. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 80 parcels of land located within the Sunspot South Mobile Home Subdivision from mobile home residence MHR to innovative community residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This particular proposed zoning map amendment would take an area that is zoned mobile home residence. Many of the properties that are located within this subdivision are actually smaller than what our mobile home residence zoning allows. And so if someone wants to relocate in there, they have a problem with the existing zoning as well as what we're proposing. But what we're proposing is to allow for various types of housing to be developed within it, including single-family residential, tiny homes, but also to allow for those properties to be considered conforming as being smaller than 6,000 square feet.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Mrs. Acosta, please.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1185 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldonado to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1185 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor, I do have.
Yes, please, Mrs. Acosta.
In this area, are there any abandoned trailers, or I know that we seem to have fires there at least once a year. Hopefully we don't have any, but do we have any properties that need abatement?
The answer to that, in short, yes.
Do we know about how many?
Probably, I would say we've had about 5 or 6 calls in the last 2 years that refer to derelict, vacant, burned out structures. We also have an issue that there's a single property owner who owns about 20 of the parcels within there. And that person no longer lives, and the clarity of the ownership is really uncertain. And some of the properties that that owner owned are the problem properties.
Is it okay to direct staff to look into that further?
Yeah, but please, would staff look into that?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valverde.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 80 parcels of land located in the Sunspot South Mobile Home Subdivision from mobile home residence MHR to innovative community residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Baldonado.
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1185 and place it on second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Baldonado, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1185 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any other questions or comments, please? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valverde.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 80 parcels of land located within the Sunspot South Mobile Home Subdivision from Mobile Home Residence MHR to Innovative Community Residential IC-R in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing Sarah Breeder components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 8K, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1186. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 14 parcels of land located within the Applewhite Drive along both sides of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residential MHR and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This proposed zoning map amendment takes properties that are located along Rogers Avenue, north of Applewhite. We have a property that was recently rezoned to general commercial, and we also have the animal shelter property, which actually has a mobile home residence zone, which is incompatible with its use. That particular portion of the map amendment would go to innovative community mixed use to allow for both of those uses to be conforming, and also anything else that might fit in with a mixed use. And the properties that are to the south but north of Applewhite, we have a lot of interest in developing single-family residential there from our public. But those properties are zoned mobile home residence, and so they could only locate a mobile home residence until we amend this for this overlay.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton, please.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1186 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1186 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Mujadala.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
Ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 14 parcels of land located within the Applewhite Drive along both sides of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residence MHR and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bidder components of ordinance and establishing the effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
move
please.
that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-11-86 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1186 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldanegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Mujadala.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
In ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 14 parcels of land located in the Applewhite Drive along both sides of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residence MHR and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bidder components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you for your patience. We're almost there. A couple more. Item number 8L, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1187. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 30 parcels of land located within the North Douglas addition from mobile home residential MHR and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The portion of this North Douglas zoning map amendment features innovative community, or rather, it features a mix of residential uses, mobile homes and single-family residences for a couple of blocks. Those blocks we propose for innovative community residential to allow for any of those to continue as conforming with our zoning code with more relaxed setback requirements and the possibility of splitting. The properties that are located in the northern part of this proposal are zone general commercial, but we actually have a mobile home park in one of those general commercial properties. And so this would allow that to also be conforming while allowing for the potential for general commercial or any other commercial use of the property.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Acosta.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1187 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second? Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Lindeman to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1187 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valvanero.
Yes.
Councilmember Tala.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 30 parcels of land located in Douglas addition from mobile home residence, MHR, and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amended the official zoning district map, establishing several bit components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. We have a motion regarding the first reading of the ordinance.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Acosta.
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1187 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Valvanero to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1187 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, please, Mrs. Valvanero.
Do we know the owner of the property that on 21st on A Avenue, that mobile home park? Because it's been abandoned, or I don't know. I haven't seen it cleaned up or nothing.
It's the 21st and
A
A.
Avenue, yes. The east side of the block.
I think that's actually in a,
Yes.
that's outside of this particular proposal. But
At the,
so that's the residential properties, and we also have an ADOT facility, I think that's off of there.
yeah, ADOT's right to the west
but
of
we don't-
two blocks.
Yeah, we're looking at a property where we've actually heard from folks that want to continue with mobile home use. But we've also have, property that's zoned general commercial, and so this proposal would allow for a mix of uses or a change of uses. Without them having to go through a rezone proposal or through any sort of a variance or conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Mr. Valvanero, I think,
Yeah, I see
Mr.
it.
Kehoe can give you an update on that particular issue that you're referring to.
Yes, will do.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valvanero.
Yes.
Councilmember Tala.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 30 parcels of land located within the North Douglas addition from mobile home residence, MHR, and general commercial GC to innovative community residential IC-R and innovative community mixed use IC-MU in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bigger components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Last one. Item number 8M, discussion decision on first reading of ordinance number 24-1188, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 359 parcels of land located within the Overlock Settlers Klein subdivision of Settlers and Sunnyside additions from mobile home residential MHR to innovative community residential IC-R, overlay zoning district and innovative community mixed use IC-MU overlay zoning district in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This area is significant for the amount of mobile home residence zoning it has. It's also notable for the amount of non-compliance it has. We have a number of older single-family residences on the properties that, again, don't follow what the zoning allows. We also have a number of newer homes that have been developed, but those also are not compliant with our code. This proposed area that's for innovative community residential would allow for any of those residential developments to occur, would allow for tiny homes, would allow for a lot of different possibilities without those being non-compliant. The area that's located along A Avenue, we actually have commercial businesses, but those are also located in a mobile home residence zone. This proposal, the proposal along A for innovative community mixed use would allow for those commercial uses to continue or allow for conversion or infilling of those properties as well.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
I move the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 241188 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sheldon, second by Mr. Boavenegro to approve the placement of ordinance number 24-1188 on its first reading by number and title only. Questions or discussion?
Yes. Mr.
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
Osborne. I would like to thank you for doing this, and for a lot of you out there in the audience. I know this has been, a bang, bang, bang thing, but this makes the 13th year I've been on the city council, and then there's 4 years in between there, so that makes 17 years. We've been talking about doing this, so I want to thank you for this. I know we've studied this before. We've gone over it, but now tonight we're doing what should have been done years ago. Now, a lot of these things you said dated back to the 1960s.
With the adoption of zoning by the city.
Yeah, so
On my father's birthday in 1966.
your father?
He was born before that, but his birthday in
Oh.
1966, the ordinance was adopted.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Hard work.
It's been
Thank
great
you, Mr.
serving you.
Sheldon.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
May,
Hearing none.
if I may,
Pardon me?
may I?
Oh, please.
I also wanted to share my appreciation with Mr. Osborne. When he started in late 2021, shortly after that, we convened with you as I was also rather new and facilitated that very first retreat. And during that retreat, it was part of Mayor and Council's vision to come back with flexible zoning and make many of these changes as Councilmember Shelton has stated. So I just want to thank him for continuously working on moving the needle towards that, not only this major project, but many others, including the general plan. Mr. Osborne will not be with us for the second reading on these very important, this litany of zoning overlays, but we wish him well, and he is moving on to his next career opportunity, and he will be missed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lieberman.
Yes.
Councilmember Alvarado.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Boavenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, is only 359 parcels of land located within the overlot Settlers Pinewell subdivision of Settlers and Sunnyside additions from mobile home residence MHR to innovative community residential IC-R, overlay zoning district and innovative community mixed use IC-MU, overlay zoning district in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several bit components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first reading?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Boavenegro.
I move that the mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1188 and place it on second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boavenegro, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-1188 and to place it on a second reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
Ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning 359 parcels of land located within the overlap settlers Pineville subdivision of settlers and Sunnyside additions from mobile home residence MHR to innovative community residential IC-R, overlay zoning district and innovative community mixed use IC-MU, overlay zoning district in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several legal components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. And you can all come back next month and we'll do it all over again. Item number 8N, discussion decision on resolution number 24-1593. A resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona. Amending resolution number 03-319 and the public works policy numbers 6.04 and 6.05. And authorizing the city to renew the citizen pay program, allowing the city to form property owner agreements per the adopted policy for sidewalk, curb, and gutter installation. Ms. Moore, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Back in 2003, there was a program at the City of Douglas to allow residents to pay for materials and have the city crews do the actual pouring and labor on curb, gutter, sidewalk, driveways. Sometime thereafter, they discontinued the policy. They just didn't have the resources to continue it. There's a request to kind of reactivate the policy and have that continue. We've done some edits to what the policy used to be just to try to address kind of modern stuff. But that's in a nutshell, kind of what we're trying to do is to see if that's a desire of the city council to renew the policy.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the resolution?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Valdenegro.
I move the mayor and council approve resolution number 24-1593.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valdenegro, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve resolution number 24-1593. Any questions or discussion, please?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
just reading this in 2003, the city didn't have a lot of funds. That's when our constituents were, they were in a better economic situation, I think. But now 20 years later, it's reversed. Now our constituents are suffering. We need jobs, and the city has a consistent surplus, budget surplus. We have CDBG grants. We have grants. We have a grant writer. So I don't think it's fair to ask our citizens now, basically, pave your sidewalk, do your own curb, especially asking somebody who's on a fixed income, because I find this as a safety issue. If you're elderly and you're in a wheelchair, you need that sidewalk, you need that curb, especially with how cars are parking. So I do not think that I think this is outdated. I think we need to have a 2024 mindset of our sales tax is high. We're already taxing our constituents as much as we can. So I really think that we need to rethink this and have the city do it. That it's a public service, because basically what the city is asking is, you want a sidewalk, you want a curb, you pay for it, but it's not going to be your property. It's going to be public property, and I don't think that's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Mr. Lindemann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to go back to those times in your years before when we had that program. I took advantage of that program. And at that time, as I remember, I was willing to put forth the material cost because I wanted it done. Just bought a new house, my children were little, and I wanted another son. And so I put the bill because primarily the city could have done that, but it would have waited. Well, I didn't want to wait. So I appreciate what Mr. Grijalva was saying. But I think this program is good to those of us who didn't want to wait, and we just wanted it done. So that is my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindemann.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, please.
So just to add some clarity to the purpose of bringing it back. As Ms. Morris stated, I requested this to come back. And not so much for the reason of the private consumer, completely optional. I think as you've heard, it's been of benefit in the past, but it's been inactive for many years. But the main reason was to revise the policy to allow for the inclusion of commercial businesses to participate, which was not in the original ask. And the reason I brought it back is because we have been going through some areas that are requesting in the business area, and we don't have a structured program to make arrangements for these opportunities on a partnership. So this allows an extension of that where we have signatures and things that we're able to take on a case-by-case basis and come up with a written agreement, which is what we were lacking as we were just trying to move along. So this is very different, not very different because it still includes the private side. If a home wants to add a driveway and they want to request it, we'll have to assess it based on our need or our availability rather of our staff, but we can work with them. What I do like about what's mentioned for those in need is the possibility of possibly adding a hardship situation where it is an elderly and there's a disabled need. We may already be doing that. I'll have to ask the staff, but I hadn't looked at it from that perspective. But this is completely optional, but it certainly will help us cover a gap that we're currently having and continuing to allow development within some of the business areas. I have 2 currently pending where this will help us in that as an opportunity for them at their request.
Thank you. Any other questions or? Yes, please, Ms. Acosta.
Will this, I know that there's areas where CDBG funding has been used, but for example, that vacant area by the high school where students walk, will this keep us from being able to use the CDBG funds for those low income areas or the areas that qualify?
Mayor, Councilmember Acosta, great question. This will not impact that. And in fact, what we've talked about is continuing to work our strategy on CDBG use to create those connections between schools and parks as a primary area, especially we have to stay within certain low income areas. But what we talked about is if somebody comes in and makes a proposal for this, and we already know that they're on schedule because of a CDBG project, we'll certainly make that available to them and say, you don't have to do this. We're actually coming through your area and here's where it is in the action plan. And right now we are working on CDBG for fiscal year 24 and waiting on some modified maps from the CDBG program to see if we can continue along 15th Street all the way to Airport Park area and possibly around the area of Sunspot in light of the new innovation or overlays, the zoning overlays for innovative areas. This will help clean up a lot of that area and help our police department as well cleaning up that area for many reasons that we actually need. So there's varied opportunities to align the programs. We have to manage staff and availability of resources to be able to do this, and that will be a challenge. But when we have, it's optional and we just don't know how many we will have. But certainly right now, the areas in the business area that have been asking.
And just to clarify, it's not like the city's going to go and build a sidewalk or a driveway in front of somebody's house and then come back and charge them without that.
Exactly. They would have to apply and it would be optional at their choice.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Baldenegro.
Yes, I just want to clarify that I took advantage of this program when in 2003, I believe I was one of the last residents to get this on. When city manager was, he got fired, I can't remember. By Michael Jacob. No, by the way, but it was a good program back then, and I think it could be a good program now. But I just wondered if the CBD grants, is that going to be where a construction company comes in and does the curbing and sidewalk, or is it a crew? our work city employee with
Mayor, Councilmember Valdenegro, most of our CDBG projects to date, in fact, all to date, unless I'm not aware of something happened in-house. Our entitlement funds are within the range of 140 to 170,000, so not quite enough to bring in a contractor to do that. And we carry all of that in-house. We have the expertise. We just don't have enough of them to capture all of our work all the time, but we keep a schedule moving along.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Mayor, I had.
Yes,
a
please,
question.
Mr. Grijalva.
I think if I remember correctly, I was told that if we annex, like, let's say Bay Acres, that we're supposed to help them out with the streets and the curbs and the sidewalks. So is that correct?
Yes, I believe so, sir.
So we're basically, you want to be a part of Douglas, we'll do all that for you, but you're already a member of Douglas. We're not going to do that for you. You got to pay for it. That we also have to look at the perception of that, because who would want to be part of a city that, you know, we'll do it if you're along for, if you sign up, but afterwards, what happens? So I'd like to also have the council think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. If my memory serves me right, that's never been promised through an annexation, to my knowledge, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Mayor, I'm not aware of promises. I know that we have a 10-year period for infrastructure development within an annexation period. I've been here only for the tail end of one annexation attempt, and we're ready to start some others, but I couldn't speak to that specific promise.
Yes, please, Mr. Pedrosa.
We can look.
That. Sure, there are some obligations in the 10-year period, but we can look at it, it includes sidewalk, curbing. We can go back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion, please? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro,
yes.
Councilmember Ricardo.
No.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8O, acknowledgement of citizens petition / discussion with possible decision regarding the community center. Mr. Kiko, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, on February 14th, a petition was presented to Mayor and Council by Jose Grijalva and is attached to the item. We received a petition with 581 signatures that call for the current call center to be considered for use as a Boys and Girls Club / community center. This action to align with our charter requirements comes back to you today for accepting the petition and as action taken. What I'm recommending is that council accept the petition and direct staff to pursue the Boys and Girls Club Community Center concept as they're developing the concepts for call center for mayor and council consideration. I think this is a wonderful idea. I would like to direct staff to bring in architect services to help design some potential concepts of what would need to be done at a high level to be able to transform that into something the community really needs. So that yes, that's the recommendation here in accepting the petition and then considering them as an option.
So Mr. Kiko, by clarification, the verbiage in the motion needs to have something saying accepting.
Accept, yes, I left that out. So accept the petition before the direct the city manager portion.
Thank you very much. We have a motion regarding this item?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Valdenegro.
I move that the mayor and council accept the city manager to include the Boys and Girls Club Community Center among the concepts being developed for mayor and council consideration for the call center.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valdenegro, second by Mrs. Acosta to accept the citizens petition and direct the city manager to include the Boys and Girls Club / community center among the concepts being developed for mayor and council consideration for the call center facility. Any questions or discussion?
Yes.
Yes, please, Mr. Shelton.
having some grandkids that have lived in a couple of areas, I've gone to Santa Fe to the Boys and Girls Club, and of course, it's been exceptional. Then I've been up to Calgary, Canada, and they have the equivalent of a Boys and Girls Club there. Last week, I was in Espanola, New Mexico, and took my 2 grandkids there to do exercise and dance and so forth. I think that the call center would be an exceptional place to have that. But there's one thing, it's going to take millions of dollars to get it and to do it right. I would hate for us just to get the call center and, oh, this Boys and Girls Club and so forth. I'm sure we could get grants on this. And I think that would be a big plus for us to have this. So anything we can do, and it might be helpful to, because Espanola, their clientele in this city is probably below what ours is here as far as income. But they have an excellent place there. And but once again, it's going to take not $1 million to do it and do it right. It's going to take several million, and there would have to be money come from big corporations, maybe Walmart, whoever would want to come in and help us out with that. But that would be great, I think. And matter of fact, I didn't even know the petition was going around. And I've been talking to one of the directors in Bisbee, and she's been encouraging me to
Mr. Shelton,
bring this up. So,
I apologize for cutting you off. That's probably a discussion for another meeting.
I know,
But thank you very much.
but
Any other questions or comments? Yes, please, Mr. Lindeman.
Of course, that's a good idea that we've all been thinking about for a long time. I like the idea of the concept discussion, the architect that Mr. Kilo is recommending. But, you know, we need to consider the revenue stream also. So I think that when all said and done, maybe we can have the best program.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. I think what he's asking for is that be part of the presentation when this comes back up for discussion of concepts.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Mr. Councilmember Lindeman. Our models will include potential funding models under the umbrella of a Boys and Girls Club model. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Mayor?
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
Desperately needed. I think we need something for our youth, teens, adults, elderly. This would be perfect, putting them in the same building, but splitting it in this concept. I would encourage that when those funding discussions happen, having talked to Sarah Vista, they're funded numerous ways. They're the ones that reach out for grants. The city also helps them, and the school district also helps them, and they partner up with private schools too. So funding shouldn't be an issue. I just think it's more of, do we want to do it? Again, we have a budget surplus. We have money in the reserve, and also they use CDBG grants for that. They partner up. So I think it's possible. It's just, do we want to do it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Anyone else? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yeah.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number P. 8P. Information regarding golf course capital improvements. Mr. Kiko, please.
Many members of the council, at your request, we have come back with a high-level estimation of capital needs at the golf course. As you recall, we just went through final closing of the sale of La Perea Apartments at the end of January, where total net proceeds from the sale are $1.35 million. So far, the city has received a total of $801,000 $554.35 from the sale. And the remaining is being held by the Community Housing Corporation to pay all obligations from the transaction. And any residual money after all the obligation is paid, will come back to the city. Now, we do expect to get, the majority of that funding back, but we have to wait for all of that to occur. As just a little background, Mayor and Council did approve in the current fiscal year budget to use proceeds of the sale for golf course improvements. In 2022, when the sale began, staff put together a list of what we thought at a very high level at the time, what capital needs were. That's before several studies were done and not really being looking at that from a lens of a golf course superintendent, and that's Exhibit A. We provided a list of what we thought we needed that estimated an amount of $540,000, and that's attached there. As we started after hiring our golf course superintendent and brought in a couple of other outside entities to conduct some site audits, our assessment is clear that the needs are beyond that amount, and we are updating those lists. While these needs are under continued assessment, staff, went ahead and created what we thought at an estimated cost, what we're talking about. We've already, just to help them speed along work out there, provided a purchase of a used greens mower and a used heavy-duty utility cart. We are making a recommendation that we look at a golf architect to help with a golf course master plan. And that's for both short-term and long-term recommendations. Just talking to a golf course architect already at a very high level in preliminary conversations, it's our understanding that just getting the back nine to an operable level and ideal level will be at least $750,000, and that's before we actually really dive in. It may be less, but that also incorporates, I believe, a new shed or equipment facility to store equipment. Currently, we have a shed that needs to just be demolished and we need to start over. So this includes some portion of that as well. In addition, we've included some amounts for restoration of event hall restrooms, bar restrooms, RV park restrooms, and then we have a couple of restrooms out on the actual course that are included, and then resurfacing of the bar area as well. We've added some more for miscellaneous items for painting, equipment, and supplies. And until we get through that master plan through the architect, we won't have a certain amount for the future. I believe all of that reserve can be used to bring our golf course to a much better state, and even then continue to work on potential grants to get the front nine back at a future phase. The front nine, from my understanding already with conversations with MPC members and our superintendent, has the most need because it's just so old, and the irrigation and the lines underground are lead and are breaking, and that entire section of the course needs to be redone. So part of the study that will take place through the architect is look at reducing the footprint of some of the greens from a turf perspective, and maybe include more of a desert landscape in some areas as a potential option for savings. But we will continue to have those conversations as we move forward on that. So we also incorporated into the current year budget $1 million for the golf course, which included 900 for the golf course and 100 for the RV park. And just as a reminder, the RV park is undergoing some electrical upgrades to include a new transformer, which has already been ordered with this amount in the current budget. And we're just waiting for delivery, but that has a very, very long delivery date, unfortunately. So open that up for questions, May.
Thank you, Mr. Keo. Any questions or input?
I'd like to call.
Yes,
Mr.
please,
Javier
Mr.
Fernandez
Alvarado.
from the audience, see if you'd like to give us a update of his golf course, because he's up there playing golf just about everywhere in the county, even in Tucson, because he can't host it here in Douglas. Shorty, if you could tell us, oh, what's just,
Thank you.
No.
No, he's fine. He doesn't, thank you.
thank you, Javier.
Any other questions or things that you would like staff to look at?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mrs. Costa.
where does the, I know that we were awarded something for the golf course. Can you speak to that? What that's supposed to cover?
Yes, during the year, we were the recipient of an award, a sustainability award for irrigation at the golf course. And Mr. Pedrosa, can you remind me on the amount of that? 30,000, yes. And that was an award that will be included in all of this upgrade, because one of the current tasks, aside from knowing that an architect will kind of redesign greens and whatnot, we're already moving with an electrician or I think they're turf specialists, and they specialize in that type of electrical, trying to get the back nine wired over to what we call our Rainbird system, and to be able to optimize even the water flow, because that's if we're just watering manually, it's not optimal, because it's a balance between your atmosphere levels and the weather, and so the system that we have is just not being used to its best capacity because we're not connected. So as part of that, this 30,000 will absolutely help in trying to get that remedied.
Okay, and is it how important is it to redesign the golf course? Can it be used? I mean, can we just update or upgrade what we currently have and how it's currently laid out?
Mayor, Councilmember Acosta, great question. Not being a golfer myself, I also have many questions of who we're bringing in to provide that study. My understanding, high level right now, is the back nine needs the least. It's more of a connecting back into the front, and then working on greens that are currently set where they are. The front nine, when our superintendent talks about the front nine, it's just always a shake of the head and redesign, but I couldn't tell you myself what that specifically means. I'm sure golfers can probably help deduce that, but I will make sure to include that in reporting and provide frequent updates on that as it moves along.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the line item costs and master plan construction / redesign is the bulk, from 750,000 to 3.5 million. And so it just makes me wonder if we need to go into that much. I mean, I know our at least my vision was to get as much as we can updated with what we already have. The RV part being a priority so that we can have a place for RVs to hook up. But yeah, this construction redesign just concerns me that it's that high when, the golf course has been running at a deficit for many years now.
Mayor, Councilmember Acosta, noted, I think we put in the high level range because we just are still in the position of we don't know what we don't know. And one of the architects sent just work from past projects that he's been involved in. And it's hard for me to say, okay, what's a good comparator? So I kind of used his range, but we will provide a good comparison of maybe there's even a consideration for council to say, do we want to keep 18 holes? And, once all of that comes back, then we'll lay out pros and cons of all options and try and have a, good conversation for consideration of council to move forward.
And just one more question, I'm
Please,
sorry.
please.
I know that we had talked about this before, and I'm sorry if I don't remember off the top of my head, but what happened with outsourcing the management of the golf course? Could you please?
Mayor, Councilmember Acosta, we brought Troon, that's not their name anymore. I forget what their name is, but we brought in somebody to do a site audit last year for that exact purpose. Our revenue stream is just not of interest to them. They can't come in with the current revenue stream and operate for us under contract. And we know that they contract out other small golf courses in Cochise County, but we have been running, like you say, in a deficit, and something needs to turn that around. So we're hoping that by infusing this capital and try and promote that by making improvements at the RV park as well, at our management model, many things that we can strengthen will help turn that around. And in the future, possibly mayor and council can reconsider that as an option.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
for-
thank you. Yes, please, Mr. Shelton and then Mr. Baldwin.
Ms. Urquijo, isn't it possible we can, for the RV park, look into solar energy? Or even the back nine, or if we have to rewire it, can we rewire it to solar? Saving. I don't know if it'd be a saving for us.
Mayor, Councilmember Baldemar, we can certainly look at that. I know right now it has more to do with the wiring concept, not the electrical component. It's the electrical, so the energy can possibly come from solar. We can certainly look at that, but it's the what's the word I'm looking for? It's wiring to the individual irrigation sections, and I forget what each piece is called. That has been the biggest challenge in troubleshooting what the issues are, and that's what's being looked at right now. The low voltage wiring to the back. As far as solar, we've talked about solar for many other city projects currently as part of our preliminary budget discussion, so we can certainly see if that's something we can leverage here as well.
We're looking at solar shade parking in that area.
That's right. Thank you. That's one of the 4 areas, I believe, that we will be adding some carport parking that will help offset our electricity bill there with the solar energy.
Do you have a timeline when this is gonna be, when we're gonna get the updates, or when the project's gonna be done? The back nine?
Until we move forward on getting those design concepts, I do not. I believe that last I heard was for the Labor Day tournament, which is a huge one. But I think next year is even bigger. I think that's a big year for next year. But for this September, what they're trying to do is lay out a small section as a sample, for lack of a better term, of what's to come to kind of energy and spark that interest, bring that energy and excitement on what some of the planning is. But until we get to that part of maybe some construction bids, I don't know what the timelines are yet.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton, please.
Yes. Here I go again. I know that a lot of golf courses in the state have gone down or closed. But if you were to go out to the golf course right now and look at the people that are camped out there, some of them for 3 or 4 months, where do they get their groceries? Where do they go out to eat? Where do they spend their money? They spend it, the majority of it, here. And we no longer have Mr. PD Phelps Dodge here and Copper's King. We need to try, in my opinion, to get the best golf course we can with the least amount of money that we can do and attract more people here. We don't even advertise out in the Canada or the North about Douglas. They just sort of show up and they're here. But if we had better RV park, expand that and get the golf course, that's going to bring people to Douglas to stay and to recreate, and instead of groups going to Sierra Vista or Benson or Safford or wherever they've been going. You know, and it's going to have to not only be the city, but those golfers are going to really have to try to, once we get that going, try to get the people back and golfing here. So that's my 3 cents on the golf course.
Thank you.
It gives us one major thing for people to come to Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
I'm with Mrs. Acosta on this. I think I'm on, yeah, as far as master plans and surveys, I'm, you know, kind of over them. For master plans, I think we were told that they're helpful for grants and all that. I don't see us getting grants for the golf course. I think it's more about prioritizing. I think fixing the event hall is going to be very important, and that should be one of the top items because that's also a revenue stream for the golf course. But I'm with Mr. Shelton. I think the cheapest that we can find it, we have a supervisor there now. Maybe he knows on how to, you know, instead of going through a master plan and a redesign, sort of just bring it up to what it used to be and modernize the event hall. And I think we'll be in a good condition there to save money for other projects that we need to fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Mr. Lindeman, please.
I just wanted to mention that it's always been my dream to improve our amenities. And the golf course, I always wanted to figure out how to send our foot out there to water the golf course, water the parks, you know, and utilize what we have, thereby maybe saving some of our groundwater. And of course, we can use some of that if we want to recharge. So it was always my dream, and maybe we can incorporate that.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. And that is grantable, probably, that portion of it.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please, Ms.
It's related only because it was brought up as golf and effluent, and we agree. We were just awarded by WIFA. I'll let Mr. Pedrosa state the amount, but we were just awarded a grant for feasibility study on effluent reuse.
That's a $250,000 study. It requires a $50,000 match by the city.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you all. Item number 8, Q. Discussing decision on bid award to USA Management for the Douglas Municipal Pool remodel. Smith, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, staff, and members of the public. Thanks for hanging in there. So on February 5th, 2024, staff issued a request for proposal to seek qualified vendors to help the city renovate the Douglas Municipal Pool. We had 2 bids that were received, one from USA Construction in the amount of $695,876.50. And another one from Pima Pool Plastering LLC in the amount of $1,174,360. As you recall, last summer, the city of Douglas informed the public that the Douglas Municipal Pool would remain closed due to city staff's concern regarding the deteriorated condition and unknown safety of the facility. During the fall of 2023, the city retained USA Management as a consultant to assess the Douglas Municipal Pool. As suspected, the pool report highlighted the need for an update to the mechanical system, repair of or replacement of the pool shell and deck, renovation of dressing and sanitation facilities, ADA compliance, regulatory compliance, and installation of safety signage and equipment. The report that we received included 3 concepts, which are as follows. Concept 1, repairing existing pool structure and deck, replace existing mechanical equipment for both pools, and resurface the pool. Concept 2, construct a new lap pool basin within the existing pool structure, repair the wading pool, which is a baby pool, as per concept 1, replace existing mechanical systems as well as perimeter piping and resurface both pools. Concept 3, replace existing lap pool and wading pool with one combined pool, which includes 0 depth entry, like a beach entry, splash pads, slides, gathering areas with underwater benches, lap swim, and open water recreation areas. After the report was received by city officials, it was determined concept one could be accomplished. It is also possible that concept one could be awarded in a phased approach, allowing the city to be operating in time for summer. Staff then proceeded to issue the RFP as explained at the beginning. Additionally, a pressure test was conducted during February, which revealed leaks in the main pool areas of the inflow returns and pipe connections. Staff confirmed that most leaks would be addressed with the proposed resurfacing of concept one. It is possible that more repairs may be needed for leak issues, and those will be determined during the restoration process. Staff recommends awarding the contract to USA Construction LLC to renovate the Douglas Municipal Pool and negotiate with USA Construction to develop a phased approach to get the pool open to the public this summer with available funds and schedule remaining phases over the next fiscal year. Depending on the future opportunities, staff may return with recommendations for future improvements to the city's outdoor pool and or aquatic facilities. The fiscal impact, staff is recommending the following funding strategy. $300,000 from the Parks Master Plan recommendations that's currently in our budget. $260,810 from Vision 2032 projects. $128,067 from the current fiscal year 24-23 surplus. And just as a side note, the Parks and Aquatics capital budget contains funds to cover 50% contingency if necessary for the pressure tests contingency leaks.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. May I have a motion regarding the bid award?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Bolanegro.
I move the mayor and council approve the bid award to USA Management for Douglas Municipal Pool.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bolanegro, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the bid award to USA Management for the Douglas Municipal Pool remodel. Questions or comments?
Mayor, if I may add something before we open for questions?
Please.
Please. Just want to clarify that after we prepared this memo with a potential phasing approach, I did, along with Ms. Smith, we contacted them because I really wanted to understand if they're telling me they can come in and do a phased approach to beat the summer so that we can get to summer. What is it that they're not doing in concept one and how does that break apart? And they struggled with that. And I think the consensus was that they're available to come in and get concept one. And I think it's a one and done. And that's why we put together the chart the way it was. I just didn't, I think it was an oversight that on the discussion item, we didn't make that modification on that conversation. So it is my recommendation that we try to complete concept one and not have to separate any continued resurfacing after the pool's already been filled or not address some of the plumbing leaks, which is what occurred after we were able to get the proposal in because of the pressure test. So in the short, I think the recommendation is to try and pursue concept one, understanding that in the future, if mayor and council want to go out or staff continues to approach larger ticket, larger funding in the capacity similar to what we saw in the golf course, I know that's 700 to maybe in excess of 3 million. There could be conversations in the future of adding like a water park feature or converting some of the wading pool that just blends into the larger pool with kind of a lagoon area or beach area. Those are some of the things that are contained in concept 2 and 3. Concept 2 includes a provision to build a small pool in the large pool, which cuts some of the cost from, when you have like a 3 million to potentially 1.2 to 2.5. So there are future concepts to add based on available funding if we go out for grants. But right now, I think with this funding strategy that was proposed, where it comes out of current budget and current surplus, we can actually get this done. We're working with them almost weekly to try and get on their schedules to assure us that they can be ready for summer. So far, they said, we're doing everything we can. We think we can meet, maybe not the Memorial Day, but that's what we're shooting for. And they are a big company. This is what they do, and they can work pretty quickly. So
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Mrs. Costa, please.
Yeah, you touched on some of my questions, and I appreciate that. I was just wondering, so the price difference, you're saying it was kind of a range of numbers between the three concepts?
yes, starting with the $700,000 range. Concept 2 is actually more like 2.5, but we asked for some revisions even today on just shortening the footprint of the existing pool, a smaller pool within the pool, and I think it was 1.2. And then concept 3 is a much bigger vision for more of a water park type, which could be comparable if the council later decides between that or adding another pool adjacent to the aquatic center. And that's kind of what that cost is. Wilcox is currently building a new swimming pool, and I believe they're in the range of 2.5 to 3 million.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ma'am?
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
So how much would it be just to redo the whole thing like this? Because I'm tired of bad things. You know, we sort of like, we're gonna do this year, then next year. How much is it to redo the whole thing? Get a quote for them?
Mayor Councilmember Grijalva, as is, it's the 700 plus the 50,000 contingency.
But just that one clean swoop.
One clean swoop.
I mean, we have that money in the reserve, and I hate
Yes.
to keep saying we have that money, but we have that money that I got so many people calling me, why didn't you open the pool? I don't want to go to the aquatic center. They want to be outside. Also people from Bisbee, because their pool was closed down. I don't think we should do it and I don't think that these, like the Parks Department should be punished by funding it. This was a mayor and council responsibility for years. We should have known, we should have funded it, we should have fixed it. I'd like to make an amendment to use the funding from the reserve to fund this project.
Mayor, if I may add to that. If there,
Please address that. 'cause,
Okay. So
I'd like some.
that's completely an option for mayor and council to take. It's just a matter of where the money's coming from. I tried to first use available funds that are still not been used in the current budgeted line items. That meets the majority of that, but you do have a surplus, and that could, Mr. Pedrosa or Mr. Martinez can certainly speak to the health of your reserve if you'd like to have that conversation. But either way, I am in agreement. We do have funding for that. And
If I may, if I understand the question right, Mr. Grijalva, is that to award the bid, but just take it 100% out of,
that's my understanding, 700-ish.
is that to your intention?
Yes.
Mr. Grijalva, that's your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Could you respond to that, Mr. Pedrosa, as far as reserves and what is there versus, it appears that some of these numbers were budgeted already for this type of project. So could you please distinguish that out for us? Please help us understand.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to touch on the reserve levels, first of all, we just held a finance committee meeting this afternoon and presented those figures. As of December 31st, we have a unrestricted reserve of $3 million. That's excluding the $2.5 million floor that we've set ourselves for on the reserve. So that's available right now. I think what Mr. Quijo was saying is that we also have available funds today to address the project costs, at least the majority of the project costs and then do utilize some of the surplus funding from that we expect from this budget. We're actually in a surplus of $1.6 million in the general fund this through December. So we do expect that surplus to be realized by the end of the year as sales tax is trending in a positive direction. So I agree that two options are available to us. Those but I would also say that if the funding is budgeted, I would certainly recommend the utilization of budgeted funds. If you're not affecting, other projects, I think that can be the most prudent, most budget friendly option, I guess you could say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Grijalva, if I'm understanding right, that we have a budgeted amount and just for round numbers, 500,000. And then if we just took the surplus and not affected any other parks budget or anything like that, would that be something that makes sense? Or is that would that achieve your goal?
Yeah. Do you need me to word it differently? Take it back?
I think the amendment would probably be if it's okay with Mr. Valdenegro and Mrs. Costa, would be something like take the amount that is currently budgeted out of the budget and then any surplus to take it out of any additional to take it out of surplus funds. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Reserves, thank you. Does that make sense?
Or actually, I would say surplus, right? Because the surplus-
It's as listed on your table. What you just described, Mayor, is as listed on the table.
300,000.
I also think the concern with the contingency of maybe affecting the parks budget. So I think what the clarification, if I understand right, Mr. Grijalva, is to make sure that all that comes out of surplus
Okay,
and it
right,
doesn't
right.
affect anybody's budget.
Correct.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That's option 2.
And I think
correct.
that's part of the motion that we
So the full
originally
amount
had.
would be in the last line of your table, which would be
Right.
695, 876.
Plus the 50,000.
If needed, any extra would come back out of the
right.
surplus versus.
To include the contingency, or we could just pull the contingency from available budgeted funds. Either
Right.
way.
Is that okay, Mr. Baldonado? Does that make sense? Or Mr. Grijalva, do you have a clarification? That's good. Is that okay? Yes. That clarification, is that okay? Okay, so we're good. Any other questions or discussion? Mrs. Pedro Gomez volunteered. She just volunteered to do the first cannonball off the high dive.
We don't have a high dive.
No high dive.
We'll bring the lift in. Yes, please, Ms. Andrade, help us, please. I believe it was discussed that the original makers of the motion, Mr. Baldenegro and Mrs. Acosta, were good with the amendment, changing it out to any additional funds would come out of surplus.
So just for
Please.
Councilman Baldenegro had the original motion.
Yes,
Do you accept his amendment?
Yes, sir.
and Mrs. Acosta is good.
Do you accept his amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Andrade, for clarifying. Horace. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lakeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Do we not have to vote on the motion, Mayor, on the amendment?
Because it's accepted by the original motion makers, we're good.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8R, discussion decision on settlement and release agreement between the city of Douglas and Harold Cooley LLC and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents under the terms of agreement. Mr. Fitzgibbons, please.
Yep. Mayor, members of council, I think this is truly the last item in the agenda for vote. So this is, before you is a settlement release agreement involving Rivera Building. But this will eventually do once the agreement, if it's approved by council and
and carried out, the city will receive the Rivera building back. And then, we will, what happened was this was a purchase agreement that occurred, back in, September 2021. The LLC paid roughly, I think, $33,000 for the purchase of the building. And they also paid the mural. What's going to happen through the settlement agreement is that there's some unpaid property taxes that are roughly $3,700 right now. The city will refund to the LLC $25,000 after the LLC pays the unpaid property taxes and deeds the property back to the city. So they have to do those two things before the city refunds $25,000 of the $33,000 that were paid roughly for the building.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the settlement?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Baldwin.
I move the mayor and council approve the settlement lease agreement between the city of Douglas and Harold Cooley LLC and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents under the terms of the agreement.
The only, Councilmember Baldwin, I apologize for not being clear. If you could just add to your motion, just at the end, as long, accept any changes to the agreement as long as they are substantially consistent with the agreement. The only thing we haven't heard from, we've heard from the attorney for the Harold Cooley LLC, but we have not actually heard from one of its members. And so there may be a slight change or two to the agreement, nothing as long as it's just a modification or something. I just want to make sure the city manager can still sign the agreement.
Okay.
What he said.
Yes, exactly. As long as all legal formalities are met.
Yes. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Baldwin, second by Mrs. Acosta to approve the settlement and release. Just for clarification, the LLC that purchased the property didn't comply with the conditions. And therefore the city initiated action to take the building back. And so after it's all said and done, we'll still realize a surplus of over $6,500 to this. So it's not costing the city anything at all. Plus a mural for those that like it. Any questions or discussion? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9, city manager reports. Mr. Kiko, please.
Mayor, members of the council, I'll try and be brief. We have, as far as the community calendar update, open swim spring break hours at the Aquatic Center, Monday through Friday, 4 to 7, Saturday, 1 to 4, Sunday, 1 to 5. On Saturday, March 17, join us for a dive-in movie event featuring Spider-Man across the Superverse. Also, we have Douglas Day Save the Date for, don't have the date here, May 17th through 18th. Thank you. D-Hill Run, also, we do have that as a date, April 6th, and we are seeking sponsors. And that is, please contact Douglas Rotary Club or the Recreation Center if we have any businesses that would like to sponsor, or any private sponsors as well. Also, an art workshop series, March 25 at Castro Park from 6 to 8 p.m. Those have become very popular, and our library has a series of programming, as they do always, with STEAM Club, preschool story time, chess club, and math and science tutoring. We also have pickleball lessons coming April 13th at Veterans Memorial Park from 10 to 12. As far as other announcements, we do have a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on March 19th at 5:30 here in the council chamber. I'd like to announce that the animal shelter is undergoing some changes and is currently being operated in part through the assistance of the Cochise County Sheriff's Office and the Humane Society of Southern Arizona with their volunteer program. As staff reconfigures our work models, policies, and practices, along with the expanded facility use, now that we are very close to having a facility, we will inform the public by way of updates. We hope for a quick turnaround, and we'll get back to the provision of this very important service to the community as soon as possible. We are also very excited about the announcement of community-directed spending funds awarded to our community, $2.9 million to the Downtown Streetscape Project and $455,000 for historical upgrades and repairs to the police station. A concept selection will now need to take place to move this forward on the engineering design component, and staff is working to bring all of that back to City Council soon. We have had for a couple of years now, as we awaited some of these big grants to come through, and we're hoping they would come through. We've been working on various polling and surveys and wonderful feedback from our community members. Now we're bringing all that back as a full view of where we are going, working on a few modifications to some concepts, but also bringing all of the previous concepts to light again, dusting all that off, and whichever concept is decided, one thing is for certain, there's some great revitalization coming to the downtown, and that's a wonderful thing. The Migrant Welcoming Center or shelter will be impacted soon by the loss of transportation at the end of this month. As a recap, funding will soon end and Pima County will no longer be able to send charter buses to transport migrants to Casa Alitas, which is the Tucson Welcoming Center. In fact, Casa Alitas will also close for similar reasons due to lack of continued funding. When transportation stops for Douglas, the Douglas shelter will transition to close operations in early or mid-May. City staff are working with Border Patrol and will coordinate with the local faith community with our port of entry partners to continue supporting transportation needs and coordinating migrant lateral transfers. Although not final, we are planning to likely transition to the visitor center to be an information center and possibly a transportation hub for buses, shuttles, cabs to coordinate migrant transfers and come to them there and kind of alleviate the need to transfer them within the community. We do not have sufficient space, however, if numbers increase due to lack of transportation, to make that an overnight shelter. So we are planning to create informational packets to provide not only Border Patrol and Port of Entry, but our visitors and visitor center to be able to provide migrants on all local hotels, local restaurants, medical facilities, emergency numbers, cab numbers, shuttle numbers, and any other supporting agencies in the community that are able to perhaps answer questions or provide some type of temporary, whether it's clothing or some of the other things that we've been providing from a humanitarian perspective. It's remains fluid. We are meeting with the interfaith community and all of their volunteers early next week to include the current church and their pastor. And we will be providing updates as soon as possible. Staff is always working to assist the current shelter. We've made laundry services available, Wi-Fi available, computer kiosks, partitions for sleep areas. And we enabled them to stockpile food through a grant. And we will continue to provide an older bus that we already have available if that's something that's reliable enough and we've had it checked. We feel that it is. We're just seeking a driver just to have some extra support there. Some of the local churches have some small shuttles, but that even combined with local shuttle services still may not meet the demand that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. And I do have current staff working with commercial transportation lines, and I think we're very close to bringing in Transportes Tarahumara into the community at least 3 days a week. And we, at least for a pilot program, we may have that as an available stop, not only for migrants, but for anyone in the community that would like to go to Phoenix or route back to Chihuahua in their current loop. That will be made available here in the community very soon. as part of our continued efforts to increase transportation. And lastly, our Parks Division will begin planting the rose bushes on the south side of City Hall very soon, next week, in fact. So just in time for spring. Stay tuned for final touches on that project. That completes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 10, informational items, reports from council and future agenda item requests. Mr. Grijalva, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to congratulate Tilted Luck on their new location, the old Marlins building. And I've been keeping out of trouble for the last few days, so I just want to say thank you to the mayor and his wife, Mrs. Urquijo, Mr. and Mrs. Pedrosa, Mrs. Andrade, Cynthia Robles, and Mrs. Ida Pedrego for attending my grandma's funeral. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Mr. Lindeman, please.
This evening, that an opportunity has arisen for me to expand my scope of service to our greater community. And so I'm announcing my candidacy for the seat of Cochise County Supervisor representing District 2. And because of Arizona's I'm required to step away from my current seat on this council before further paperwork with the county. Thus, I will be stepping down effective with this evening's meeting adjournment. It has been my honor and privilege to have served the city of Douglas, beginning with my appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission in 1994. I served until 2005 when I was elected to the council. I have served Ward 2 for 4 terms. I have served as mayor pro tem 3 times. Finance Commission, Seagull representative, and Charter Review Committee member over the years. I've had the privilege to have worked with 5 mayors, 7 city managers, and 3 city clerks. I truly am blessed with having highly competent, dedicated, and professional administration, staff, and employees who work each day for the benefit of our city. I am saddened to have to leave the city government just as we are on the cusp of an amazing future with all of our projects soon to be reality. It is my hope that I will still be an active participant in the future of Douglas and Cochise County. I would like to thank my fellow councilors, administration, and staff for their dedication and hard work on behalf of the city of Douglas. And I ask for your support as I pursue this next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. You'll be greatly missed. We appreciate your dedicated service to our wonderful community. Anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes, please, Mrs. Acosta.
I just like to informally recognize one of our employees, Ms. Alma Andrade, has recently completed not only the Master Municipal Clerk program, which just a little bit about it, it's the second and more advanced of the 2 professional designations granted by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. At the same time, she just graduated and completed her bachelor's degree from GCU. So I'd like to congratulate her and offer her my biggest appreciation and admiration for completing both programs at the same time. It's not easy working and going to school. So congratulations and thank you for everything you do for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta, for bringing that up, and thank you, Alma, and especially having to take care of a couple of cats on top of everything else. Anyone else? Just a couple of quick updates on as far as the funding for transportation and this migrant crisis that we find ourselves in. Senator Kelly, Senator Cinema both requested funding of $752 million to help with what's called the SSP, the Service Shelter and Services Program. On the House side, Congressman Grijalva, along with some of his colleagues, have also requested $3 billion of appropriations to help with this SSP program. So hopefully it gets here before the end of the month, or we will have difficulties. But thank you for putting up with us. This is one of our longer meetings that we had today to date. We appreciate it. We appreciate the public for sticking around and hanging around with us and helping us out. Item number 11, the adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mrs. Acosta to adjourn our regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council of March 13, 2024. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 8:30.